Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. You're not seeing things. I'm joined by Ed Maggiani. Ed, how
How
are
are you,
you?
David?
Thank you
Nice
for.
having you come over.
This has been so great. We were trying to figure out how long it's been since I've been
Oh,
over
it's
here.
since you've been here. Oh, it's
Years.
got to be at least 5, 6, 7 years, maybe. It's been a
Too
long time.
too long.
I know.
And by the way, just fair transparency. I came here about an hour and a half ago, and we haven't been doing any video for you. We've been going around like little kids
Yeah,
with
we were.
toys.
We were.
I got into, by the way, you got to see this. I actually got into the Q
The
Lab,
Q Lab.
which not a lot of
The
people get to see.
No, not at all. Not at all. Just me. I just crawl in there and I start working away and start making stuff for you guys.
Yeah, I mean there were guns in there. There was
Everything.
electronics,
Lasers.
lasers, used parts, new parts. It was a treat. But this video today, we're going to be concentrating on edged weapons and knives of the Bond franchise.
Right.
Let me ask you a question
We're gonna go
before we
through
even get into this.
Okay.
Why, I know for me, and I'll give my opinion, but why is there such a fascination with the knives of James Bond?
I don't think it's just the knives. The knives, I think, personally, are just one of the cooler things about them. Everybody's got their own individual gun, but you'll notice as we go through some of these things that some of these knives are kind of unique. And it's not the kind of thing you would see at your normal cutlery store. Although some of them are.
Yeah.
But some of these are, custom made things that, you know, you see in the movie, and some of them actually feature a very important part of the movie, too. Um, You'll see. You'll see. Let's just start, and
All right.
you'll see for yourself.
There we go. Good. We're basically going through time travel.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to start over here. Now, what do we have over here?
Okay. Well, the first thing here, it's the Honey Rider knife, which probably is the first knife that was ever used in any of the Bond films. They put it on an old World War II British web belt, and you'll see that it's a very thin knife,
Ooh.
actually.
Wow.
It has I think it's a rosewood handle, with a little keeper on top. And, whoops. And this comes right off. But, well, actually, one of the interesting things about it is, normally, you'll notice on the back there's these two little slits, which on a normal knife, you would put your belt loop through that.
Right.
But because this knife is so big, in the film what they did was they actually, and if you go back and look at your stills, guys, you'll see that what they did was they kind of put it like this over the back, and what's holding it in place is the straps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's no way this thing is going to be held. As soon as you unsnap this and take this out, it's going to fall like you just saw it did. But that's probably one of the first iconic knives that we see in the film.
Now, we've got to pause for a second because you make these.
Yes, we do.
And
Yes.
this is something that, and we'll put links down below. This is something that you offer people.
Yes.
Super limited edition because, correct me if I'm
Right.
wrong, these are all made by hand.
All made by hand, yeah. And these are stainless steel. They're not any kind of aluminum or anything like that. These are actually very sharp. In fact, I'll tell you a story when we get to one of these other knives here, just about how sharp these things are.
Okay.
And there's the box that it comes in. It's a little presentation box,
oh my gosh, look at this.
which has a photograph of the Caribbean.
I love the quotes on it.
On the side, it says, "I promise I won't steal your shells." And she says, "I promise you won't either." What are you doing? Looking for shells? No, I'm just looking.
See, I love that you
So-
did this because this is made for fans by a fan.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to think about all the little details.
Sure.
Oh, look at that.
And it comes with, it's a foam, hard foam, and the knife actually fits into a slotted area so that it's well protected and won't jostle around or anything, if you wanted to display it like that.
Right.
But eventually you might want to display it with a Honey Rider bikini, which is something that's in the works.
Unbelievable. Oh,
Coming further down the
this
line.
this is when it gets exciting. Okay. So here, let's continue
All
through.
right. Well, the
So
next
this-
one there, this is a Sheffield dinner knife. And David goes, what the heck's he got that
No, it just came to me.
for?" Okay, you tell it.
Well, is it in Doctor No where he's kind of going like this?
Yeah.
And he says, "Don't think me
You
stupid."
got it. That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a knife.
All right. So I'm looking at this knife. How do you know you have the right one?
You don't. Not really.
Oh.
No. I really don't know, but from looking at the photographs, this was the closest I can get to what I could see that was on screen.
Okay.
You know, so it may not be Sheffield, might be another company, but Sheffield is a very famous British company. And I thought this would really fit the bill because it even has the Sheffield, which you can't see,
Right.
emblem all engraved into it. So I thought that would
But
be
I
a
know
good addition.
I know what you do. I mean, over here you have all of the movies. You do study these,
Oh my God, yes,
investigate.
totally. I
Yeah.
mean, I delve into these things, do screen captures, do everything I could possibly do.
By the way, I'm being very careful when handing over knives. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, don't give them the end of
No,
it. Coral.
quarrels,
Yeah.
yeah, quarrels switchblade. This is called a lock pick, and the reason is because if you move this little lever, the
Ah.
knife releases, it comes in, locks in place. There's a little slide button here which locks it, so it can't accidentally open in your pocket. When you slide it down, you can then press it, and there you go. You can
Wow.
tack bond with it.
Love it. Love it. And this something like this you could still
You can
get
still
here
get
and
these,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
At certain places, they're illegal. Sometimes it's illegal to transport
Yes.
it over state lines. It's legal to own it within your own state,
Yeah.
but if you transport it from one state to another, then it gets a little tricky.
Yeah. So
So,
acquisition is dependent by country,
yeah,
state.
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
It's called a PAL, P-A-L knife, U.S. Navy. And the only time you see this is sticking out of Kareem Bey's back when they find him
Oh.
dead on the train.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's Red Grant's knife, actually, and this is what he kills Kareem with.
All right. Let's stop for a second.
Okay.
So that's insane. So you've identified this
Yeah.
from the hilt.
You can do it from the hilt. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
because we only see it from here, just about from here up.
Right.
But it's got this distinctive, kind of bowed look.
Yeah.
Same kind of, guard on here, and the same kind of pommel.
All right. So a lot of my
So not
audience
alone you can
doesn't know this, but you run something called Spy Boys, and
Yes.
Spy Boys obviously can make some of these things
Yep.
that we've just talked about.
Or locate them.
But that's what I was going to say. Like
Yeah.
you're kind of an acquirer of rare
Yeah.
equities,
Exactly.
antiquities,
Indiana Jones,
exactly.
and right here, boy.
So I mean, how does somebody connect to Spy Boys and go, "I saw that in the video"? I mean, is that even what happens?
You can, and I'm sure David will put a link to it. It's thespyboys.com. There's also the Spy Boys Facebook page. And the best thing to do is if you have a question, you can just email me. It's thefuds@aol.com.
Very responsive.
So, yeah, absolutely. Just contact me and no problem.
All right, this I feel like we mostly should know.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, this is obviously from the attaché case.
Sort of.
Oh,
Sort of.
didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, they look different.
Yeah, they do. This one here that you're holding, this is the original, this is a replica, an exact replica of the From Russia with Love attaché case knife belt that Burt Luxford made originally.
Oh,
The original one was up on auction at the prop store a few months ago. I don't know what it finally went for, but this is the one that he originally did for the attaché case, and the reason I believe it was rejected is because it's actually too thick. The back of the handle, the way it bows,
yes.
and the thickness of it would not be thin enough to fit into the slot that comes out of the attaché
Oh my
case.
gosh.
So they went back and they redid it. And they redid it to look like this.
To look like this, and look
Yeah.
at this display box. My gosh.
Yeah, so this is the other knife that we sell. And again, this is stainless steel. It's very balanced. Comes with its own presentation box. And the box, what does it say on there?
That's a nasty little Christmas present.
There you go. And it's got a map of Istanbul,
Of course it does.
which it should. And this is the story I wanted to tell you and why you have to be really
This
careful
is one that
with these.
you and your team sell.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do.
Good to
Yeah.
note.
I had one of these that had a little bit of a mark on it, little kind of a scratch. And I thought, oh, okay, I don't want to sell it like that. So I thought, well, let me go out to my shed, Q's Lab, and I can just, sandpaper it down, clean it up a little bit, get it all set, polish it all up. So no problem. So I go in and I take it down and I go to polish it. And as I'm polishing it on this wheel, the wheel catches this, flings it up into the air, okay, and it lands right here,
Oh gosh.
okay, and it cut me pretty deep to the point where I had to go get like 3 stitches on this thing.
That's not good.
No. So you have to be very careful. These are not toys.
No,
They
these are real.
are sharp, okay?
Ugh.
So if anybody buys any of these things, you'll get a little disclaimer with it that says, these are sharp. Be very, very careful. You
And
do not want to cut yourself.
I love that you thought about the display aspect, that everything here
Yeah,
can be
yeah.
displayed beautifully.
Absolutely. So you can keep it in, even in the box as it comes.
Unbelievable. All right. So, wow.
Yep, we're up to Thunderbolt now, guys. And what this is a replica of a throwing knife used by Colonel Beauvoir, if I pronounce that correctly.
I remember this.
You'll see it in the scene after he fights him at the very beginning in the pre-title sequence part, where Bond is up against a cabinet. He throws a knife, and the knife pins him against the wall, and then he brings the cabinet down. So it's this. And what this is a replica of this, which is an actual knife that was made for the film. Okay, not a production used knife,
Right.
but this is the exact replica, this one is, of this particular knife. And you can see it's
Oh my
almost the
gosh.
exact same thing.
It absolutely is.
The only difference with the real one is it has writing on it,
Right.
which we can't duplicate that. But otherwise, it has a camel horn, grip
Oh my
both sides
gosh.
with brass pins to hold it in place. And again, stainless steel and sharp.
And I love the boxes.
The box is not only from the side. Read them what it says on the side there.
You shouldn't have opened that car door yourself. And the coffin, it has your initials.
Exactly. And the initials that you see here, and this is a reproduction, in a sense, of the flag that you see hanging over the cathedral when Bond and the agent from France are looking down. And she mentions, oh, it has your initials on it. But this is actually Jacques Bouvard's initials and the same design of the flag.
Lest you think it's James Bond.
And, yeah, you don't want to do that.
That is amazing. And again, I'm just going to say it just so people know, this is available in the
This
links
is
below.
available. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And then we've got the actual one here.
Right.
What do we have here?
We're still into Thunderball, and a lot of you guys may not notice this, but again, watching these films, ad nauseum. If you look when Bond he goes into Palmyra, and as he's walking around, and he gets kind of discovered that he's there. One of the guys tackles him, and they fall into a pool.
Yes.
And they start fighting in the pool.
Yeah.
Okay, if you look really, really close and start freeze framing some of this stuff, you'll notice Bond has on his leg attached a sheath, and the sheath has a very long switchblade.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wait,
this is what he has in the
it's
film.
jagged.
Yeah, well, no.
Is it supposed to look like that?
That one, I have to admit, I have another one which is straight.
Okay.
Okay, I couldn't find it to bring
But
it
you
for
would
the
never
video.
know if it's jagged, straight, or otherwise, right?
You wouldn't. It
Right.
could be jagged. Okay, but to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest, guys.
Yeah.
The other one, I believe, just has a straight blade as opposed to this, what they call a crisp blade.
Right.
But it's the same size, same design. Only difference is it wouldn't have the wavy design to it, just
Wow.
plain. But again, this is the one that he will have.
That just
attached to
looks
that thing.
dangerous.
It does, doesn't it?
Oh
it's
my
very,
gosh.
very juvenile, delinquent from the 50s
Yes.
and 60s kind of thing. Rebel without a cause.
So is this sticking
type
up like this or like
Yeah.
this?
I think it was like this. But if you look close, you'll see it. It's actually on his leg.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what he stabs the guy with.
We're all going to look. You
You're
know
going
that.
to look now.
Now this all looks like Thunderball.
This is all Thunderball right here.
Is it just various
all-
different scenes or?
Yeah. You'll see that Largo, these are, by the way, these are all Voight knives. Voight supplied almost all of the underwater equipment that was used. And some of the pieces are a little bit different because you'll notice some of them say Voight, some of them say Swim Master, which was also a division of Voight. And they're just used by different people. Like, for example, this one here, which, take it out, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the blue knife that's used by the Spectre guys. I believe that's the right length for the one that Largo uses when he cuts the oxygen line
Yes.
for Derval when he was locked into the Vulcan bomber.
My gosh.
Okay, now that one's very close to this one, although this one's a little bit different, mostly just in size.
Oh yes, yes.
And a good view of this is when they have the underwater battle between Spectre and the the aquamarines. You'll actually see that this thing floats down
Right,
and
right.
lands and falls on a lobster or something. But it's the same thing, only just a shorter version. I mean, I guess mostly for close combat or something.
Right, right.
So,
It'll come out quick, that's for
but
sure.
yeah, yeah. And as opposed to the Spectre agents,
Oof.
okay, this is the Voight knife that was used by the aquamarines.
Ah, okay.
And
Now, would Bond have had this or no?
Not yet. You'll see.
Okay.
You'll see. That was the one used by mostly the aquamarines, and I think the reason they chose to have that is because of it being with a black handle, and they were wearing orange,
Yeah,
wetsuits.
makes sense.
So it kind of stands out more so than the Spectre guys who were wearing black.
Right.
This would have blended right in. So they used the blue ones. So if it's against a black surface, it would be more visible.
I would
So
imagine
I'm sure that's
these,
what they did.
being as old as they are, they're a little tougher to track down.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And the thing, too, is that I have to recondition a lot of these because some of them have nicks and chips and because they're used.
Yeah.
Skin divers use them. And sometimes they use them as pry bars and things like that. So they will get nicked. There'll be a lot of scratching and whatnot all over it. So I take them all down. I actually go back into that shed and I grind it all down.
Wow.
And I repolish everything on here and try to get it as, fresh and new as possible.
Unbelievable.
Make it close. Now you mentioned Bond.
I did.
If that was Bond's knife, it sort of is.
Okay.
But it's not. This is the one that Bond had.
Ooh.
Okay, and you can see this. And actually, it's not Connery, but it's Frank Cousins who's doubling for Connery.
Okay.
When he does the dive on the Vulcan bomber, and you will see this actually strapped to his leg.
Oh,
and this is
wow.
what he uses to cut the netting with.
Oh, yes.
To get in there and find Derval. So again,
Is
it's
that a
very
Voight
close.
as well, or?
This one is this is the one I was saying, Swim Master.
Swim Master, wow.
It's actually a division of Voight.
Okay.
So it is still a Voight knife, but you'll notice, look at the difference between the handle configuration,
Oh,
and this
yeah.
is metal as opposed to this being plastic.
Yes.
It's a similar design, but
Yeah.
it is different.
That's amazing.
So a little different there.
This is such an education because I think, anybody would come in here and look at these knives and go, Thunderbolt
Yeah, yeah.
diving knife, but you've got the actual story
I know
of
which
where
ones
it's.
that go behind them.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a great handle.
Now this is another huge
Wow.
one, but
That's a shark killer.
actually nobody uses this in the film.
Wait, what?
No, there's a famous shot of.
I know the
you're
one
gonna
you're going to
say.
say.
Go ahead.
Is it Martine Beswick going like this? And
He's
the,
going like that.
Yes.
And all the skin diver guys are
Martine,
coming
this
in.
is your knife.
This is her knife. Okay, so it was only used for publicity purposes.
Wow. All right. So here's the thing. That's not in a film. That's in a still. She's holding it. How do you identify this knife?
Because I can tell from the back end of it, the what's called a strike plate. Because they use that. The reason that it has this
hammer?
big heavy thing, it's to hammer things.
Yeah.
So if you're underwater and there's a big rock or something and you find something in it, you want to get it out, you can actually, because it's really heavy duty steel.
Right.
You can actually bash in and use it as a hammer.
These things are tools. I mean, not only is it
Yes.
serrated and sharp,
Right.
this has I guess inches measurement on
Yeah,
here,
you can
and
use it as a ruler.
hammer and prying, and
Absolutely.
I love this. Oh my gosh!
So even though it's not in the film, I thought it was cool enough to
It has to complete
want
your
to add
collection.
it with my knife collection. it had to go there.
All right, where are we going to next? This is exciting.
We're going to go to
Swing around
the
this way?
only knife that was in on Her Majesty's Secret
Is it right
Service. That's the one.
All right.
Okay. And this is a Pro Throw
Oh, I know this
throwing
knife.
knife. And of course, you'll recognize this as the one that Bond throws into the calendar. They kind of use it in a weird kind of way at first because it's not Bond's knife. It's the one character by the name of Chi-Chi. And when he first comes out of the
Yes.
hotel, they kind of make him go into the car. And at one point, you see the one character sitting next to Bond kind of, open it and leave it like that.
He's like, "Urgh."
Yeah. And what's funny is that they actually, a lot of people thought that this was a switchblade. Because when they do that,
They make a noise.
you hear
Yes.
that sound
Yes.
to make you think it's a switchblade, but it's not.
I didn't get nervous at all that Ed had a blade to my throat, by the way. I've known him for years. I don't owe him money. It's okay.
Not yet. but-
Not yet. It's a day is young.
Yeah.
That's
But,
great.
Yeah, so that's neat. It's
Now,
a neat little piece to have.
Were
because
you
it
the
is-
one that designed? So, there was like a calendar display. That
I haven't done it yet.
okay.
I've seen other
That was a
people
genius
that have
way
done
to
it.
display
yeah,
it.
Yeah, but we're gonna get just like David said, we're going to get a piece of cardboard,
Right.
thick, reinforced cardboard, and just have a slot so that if you wanted to display it with the calendar, you can actually fit it directly into the slot, and there it would be.
So this is going to be another knife that you offer.
This will be, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the display case
Wow.
as an optional. You don't have to get it.
Yeah.
I like to offer it as an optional thing because some people might just want to display it on their shelf or something.
Is the Instagram Knives of Bond taken already?
Not that I know of.
We should investigate.
Maybe we should do that.
I'll check before I post this video. That's what
We
I'll
should do that.
What should I be grabbing here?
That's the one.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're moving on to You Only Live Twice. And the only time we see this is sticking out of somebody's back.
Oh my gosh, Henderson.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, he's talking to Henderson, and Henderson freezes, and then as he slumps forward, you see this knife.
You could
And
make a
it's
whole
a
display
Sykes Fairbairn.
of knives that stick out of people's backs.
Yeah, you could actually. There's a couple in here.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a copy, and I'm sure in the film they probably used an original Sykes Fairbairn knife. This is just a copy.
Okay.
It's very, very close. I mean, everything is identifiable with it. It's got the correct.
By the way, it looks very
round tip.
Japanese, even in its design.
Yeah, it's actually British.
I know, but
it
for
does
some
kind
reason
of.
it's got that.
Yeah,
like-
because of the grooving.
Yes,
here.
yes.
Yeah, it does. It does. But it's a commando knife that was designed in World War II, and just don't let any Japanese guys
oh
stick it
my
in your
gosh,
bag.
that's the takeaway. Should I grab these?
Yeah, sure. And these are replicas that I made, which are two of the throwing stars that when Bond goes into the ninja training camp, you'll see them throwing these, directly
And
into
they're like sticking in and
right.
stuff like that.
And the bigger one here, that has a little bit more distinction because that's the one that Tiger throws into Blofeld's wrist as he's just about to shoot Bond,
Oh,
which makes him drop the gun.
so this you've made in your Q lab,
Yes.
and these have got to be incredibly time consuming.
Yeah, only because it starts out as a block of metal.
Oh my gosh.
A square block of metal. So I have to trace them all out, cut them all out, sand them all out, bevel them, paint them. It takes a long time.
So you offer these?
But I do
these?
offer them. Yeah, they're available.
Oh my gosh. All right. What else?
Those, yeah, you can
Both of
actually
them?
bring both of those at the same time.
Oh my god. I
That's
feel
a
like
monster,
Candyman
isn't
or
it?
something like
yeah,
that.
right.
What is going on here?
Well, what these are, and the only time we see these, are at the Kobe docks.
Yes.
Because the Japanese guys are chasing Bond, and this is what they're brandishing.
What?
This is it.
So, first of all, that's some of people's favorite scenes because of that,
Oh, yeah.
that high
Right
shot and
yeah.
everything like that. How
Yeah.
do you
Look close.
identify? I keep asking this question, but
Well, the reason I can do all that is for a few different reasons. And number one, you watch the movie 1,001 times.
right.
But number two is I collect a lot of stills. And when I say collect a lot of stills, I mean digitally. Because I have collected, and I have several that you can't see here,
Binders
in
and-
binders filled with
Yes.
photographs. But it just got to be so many that I thought there's got to be a better way.
And how do you find the image quickly?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've collected probably, and I'm not exaggerating, about 150,000 stills that I've collected from all of the movies.
Oh my gosh.
And I have them per movie, and then I have them in different categories.
Okay.
So if I wanted to find this thing, somebody
Right.
goes, hey, can you send me a picture of this? I would go to You Only Live Twice. I would go down to Kobe Docks, and there would be the pictures of these things
So you've got images of these things.
being used in the film.
Wow.
Yeah, there's images I have of, some of them are publicity shots where
Yeah.
you see them just kind of
And
standing
then
there.
do you find these at gun shows or do you have to go online? I mean,
I
I don't want to give away all your
these,
secrets.
Well,
but-
no, this I found online, but actually some of these I did find at gun shows.
Yeah.
You do run across, you have to kind of know what you're looking for. I mean, most people would see this and not think twice about what it is.
Of course.
But having just, again, watched the movie so many times, and I just have this, cache of information in my
Right.
head that I can just kind of remember
You
what's
only
there.
think twice about this.
Oh,
That's
I'm gonna-
sorry. Yeah. I deserve that actually.
I'm going to, here.
This is amazing.
Don't tempt
By the
me.
way, this is just home protection. I mean, this
Oh,
is
yeah. Can you
intimidating as
imagine?
hell.
You don't want to hit with
Wow.
that.
All right, we're
All
to
right,
next.
we're up to Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay.
All right.
Actually,
And-
this goes first. I know in
yeah,
the
it
movie.
does,
so-
nah. Actually, what this is And it's not really a knife per se, but it's a piton. Okay, I don't know if you can see that good enough. But this is the piton that Bond shoots when he's climbing the White House. And the way I have it is with this barrel. And this is the actual barrel, same type, not from the
Whoa.
movie, but this is the exact same type of barrel that was used on the particular piton gun. So this thing would just,
Oh my gosh.
shoot there, and this would normally shoot out and embed itself.
Like in Blofeld's head
Or yeah, exactly.
or
yeah.
the side of the wall.
So it's not a knife.
Yeah.
But it's an edged weapon, I guess.
Is this another thing that you
I made that.
did
Yeah.
in the
yeah,
Q show?
I made it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And the reason I was able to make it accurately, because you never really see a close-up of it,
Right.
was because when we went to visit Desmond, he
Yes.
had the original piton gun and the piton, which I photographed. And from that, I was able to determine what kind of barrel it is,
Oh,
and also use that as a design for making the piton.
I've always said this. You're like the dark detective of Bond
Yeah,
pros.
right.
I mean, the way you find these things, and I think a lot of us have this, but this is
Probably.
still worth talking about.
It is. It is. And this is something you can actually find on eBay
Yeah.
all the time. It's called a cork master. Okay, it's made in England, and this little tip comes off, and you'll see on here. Basically, it's a syringe.
So lethal looking.
Okay.
It just scares the hell out
And
of
it
me.
is, and it comes apart, and inside normally you would have like a little it's called a sparklet, but it's a CO2 canister. Basically, it goes in there. There's the piece that pierces it, and once it's pierced, what you do is you press this top black button over, and when you do that, it releases the CO2 gas through the syringe. And this is not for assassinating anyone. It's used for popping your corks out of your bottles. You put
Yeah.
it through the cork, press the button, and the air going into the actual bottle forces the cork out.
Have you ever tried it?
No. And I'm surprised that this is still being sold on eBay, because if I were to put a real cylinder in here with that gas, and I go up to anybody, and and I
air
stab
bubble
them,
to the heart.
and I push that button,
Yeah.
you're going to release the entire contents of that CO2 into the cavity,
Yeah.
and I mean their heart could explode.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
It is
I'm
a lethal
surprised.
weapon.
I'm really surprised that they
Yeah.
sell this thing. And
That could be one of the scariest things
it
I've seen
is.
so far.
It is really.
Honestly.
And I'm surprised that they didn't use it on Bond and tried choking him with a taste spin chain as opposed to doing that.
So I have a confession. I have this knife that I
Okay.
bought from you at home.
Okay.
And I think I have it in the wrong movie. I have it displayed with Thunderball.
Oh no.
This should be in my.
Live and
You'll-
let die.
This should be with my Live and Let Die
Yeah.
stuff.
This is Bond's knife that he had, which he had all his scuba gear captured. And you'll notice when Kananga has him tied up, that there's a table laid out that
Right.
has some of his scuba equipment, and this is one of them. And Kananga takes this out, and eventually goes up to Bond and cuts, the X's on his forearm, which makes him bleed, and the sharks come along. And then, of course, he fights Bond with it. But yeah, live and let die.
Live and Let Die. That's a great knife. And from such an iconic scene.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and so many. Now, I did skip. Of course, I got out of order because
That's all right.
I'm just bumbling. But this is something I know you've made.
Yeah, I
And
made
you've
bunches.
made like so many different iterations of it.
Yes. I keep trying to improve upon it.
So
as
just
much
let me
as I
get up
can.
nice and close for people. So this is, of course, the hand trap,
Right.
which is so bonkers, but it's so perfect
know.
for Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah,
That's
this
quite
is-
sharp, by the way.
It is.
As
it
I
is.
put my fingers in to demonstrate.
Excuse me. Yeah, this starts out as a sheet of aluminum.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and I have to drill all the holes, do all the little perforations, do all the teeth, cut all these holes into it. And it has, David's right, it's gone through a lot of changes because as I've gathered more and more information and I've seen some of the pictures of the real props, like I never knew that there was holes in the bottom until recently. So of course I incorporated that into it. And the interior here is totally me, okay? You never have anything inside the real prop.
Right.
In fact, the way the real prop is made, and you can kind of see I simulated it here, there's two tiny screws, top and bottom, that hold the teeth. For the film, they removed that. So, like, David almost cut his hand just by putting it in there.
I'm here to entertain.
Okay? It doesn't really happen. If you look closely, you'll see that they remove these parts before the stuntman,
Right.
puts his hand into it, because obviously these are sharp, and you can't cut them. And I do hone these down so that they are sharp.
Yeah. Yeah. Very intimidating.
Yeah, but I do make them available if somebody wants them.
So this next one, I didn't know what it was until I looked at the box, and now I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
So what do we have here?
Well, this is from The Man with the Golden Gun. And at the very end of the film, Knick-Knack has hidden himself in the upper rafters of the junk. And with Bond and Mary Goodnight in the bed, there you go, you'll notice that Knick-Knack kind of, oh, don't do that.
I'm
You'll
not.
hurt yourself.
But he
opens
put it?
up.
Does
He
he?
puts the blade in his mouth.
That's what I remember.
Don't do
Which
that.
is insane. Don't do that at home, kids.
guys.
But now you obviously you make these.
Yes.
This is part of the knife series from Spy Boys. But I love the box. Obviously, it has Fouquet on it, and then "You'll Be the Death of Me Yet," Knick-Knack. I love this so much.
It's a neat little thing we
Oh
came
my
up
gosh.
with, But yeah, it's a perfect addition to something that you guys might see later on that we're also coming out with as a accessory for Knick-Knack.
Oh, okay. Well,
that under
that'll
your
be like a
hat.
bonus.
It'll be a
if you will.
bonus.
All right, this thing
I
I
know, it's monstrous.
I'm gonna let you hold this because
Okay, if I can.
I think Danielle
Oh,
would
God.
kill me for playing with such crazy weapons.
This is seen in the movie, and I'm going to grab this one because this is also in the film. But the only time that we see these is from Moonraker, by the way, when Bond is in the gondola. And as he's sailing down, you see another gondola
Yes.
coming towards him. All of a sudden,
Tick, 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 tick.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the assassin comes out of the coffin, and this thing comes out that holds all these knives
Yeah.
into it. And these are two of the knives that he would have on there.
Wow.
Okay, this is called a primitive Bowie. That's the actual name of it, and it's modeled obviously over the Bowie knife.
What's the use for something like that?
You kill a bar
Yeah, I bet.
against a tree.
Yeah. That's
David,
like
not David.
it's for
Bowie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, David Bowie.
Not David Bowie, the other Bowie,
That's-
the one that killed the bear.
This is like a Schwarzenegger, like pin you up
Yes,
against
it's
a
huge.
wall type thing.
Yeah,
That's monstrous.
it's monstrous. It is.
Wow.
And this other one, it's actually modeled after a German World War II SS dagger.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what they actually used.
Wow.
And you can tell from the design. It's very, very, unique in its design.
All right, I'm going to pause for a second because I remember there being more knives.
Oh, yeah.
Even
There's
for someone like
yeah.
the great Ed Maggiani,
can't.
do some elude you?
Well, no, I'll tell you. There's only two more that elude me because one of the other knives that's in there is actually used in the next knife we're going to look at,
Oh.
which is Octopussy.
Ah.
This knife was the one that, again, a replica that we sell. This is a replica of, again, a Bowie type knife, but this was used by the twins as throwing knives that you'll see throughout the film. In fact, in the beginning of the film, they kill one of the agents
Right.
as he's running away. Later on, we see them practicing in one of the train, cars with this, throwing it against one of the
Yes,
targets, the
yes.
Octopussy poster. And again, they go after Bond and pin him against the wall, and Bond actually uses this to throw back and kill
That's
one
right.
of the guys.
It gets a lot of screen
So
time.
It gets screen time, all right, for sure.
And this is another thing that I fell in love with. First of all, this is where the knife nestles
Mm-hmm.
for display, so it's beautiful. But folks, you're going to be hard pressed to get a better box art than this. And on the side it says, "Mr. Bond is indeed of a very rare breed, soon to be made extinct." I mean, look at that. You've got the circus logos on here.
Another thing which I didn't bring out here, anyone that gets this actually gets a replica of the circus program. The full program.
What?
Not just the cover or anything like that. You get the full program, start to finish. It's like 4 or 5 pages. And what I've done is, when I duplicated it, I wrote it exactly the way it is in the original, which is in German. And then I made a translation sheet that slips inside of it. And
Oh
in
my
addition
gosh.
to that, you get 2 Octopussy circus entrance tickets.
What?
So it's a full package that you get with that.
This is amazing. And by the way,
big
there was
package.
another quote on the other side. Englishmen like eggs, preferably Fabergé, and dice, preferably
Loaded.
loaded. This is so cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
And listen, we've got to speak about, the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We're in an anniversary year
Yes,
for
that's right.
Octopussy. So, I mean, when you talk about the 40th anniversary of a film like this,
Yeah.
this is the perfect gift.
Absolutely.
We haven't really talked about prices, but what would something like this go for? All those things you just mentioned.
That particular one would be about $140. All right, but that comes
That's
with
fantastic.
the program and the 2 tickets as well. I throw that in for free. You're not paying for that at all. And getting back, let me jump back to this guy, since this was at the funeral of, Beauvoir. I include with this the funeral card that has all the information about, the location, the prayer, and
Yeah.
everything else. So you get that with it as
And
well.
this is what the fans love. They love that little
It's
extra
the little extra
detail
stuff.
and touch,
Yeah,
It's
little extra stuff that comes with
in the
it,
minds of the QLab.
which
All
is
right.
what I like.
At first, I thought maybe Ed or his
Careful.
wife maybe lost their
No,
pen
no.
for groceries, but what is this? It's just hanging out.
This is not from the film at all.
Okay.
But it simulates the Moonraker pen that you might have seen in a different video. Only if you push that down,
Push this down?
the pen clip.
Okay.
No, on the side.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, that one works though.
That one works really good.
That's lethal.
There
That
you
doesn't even look like it should house that. It's so
I know,
long.
it looks super long, doesn't it?
This must have been from a gun show or something.
Yeah, it was a gun show. I saw it and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I got to have this. So it is really not from the movie. I threw that in for fun, and only because of the fact that it is kind of like the same idea.
Yes.
As to what the Moonraker.
You'd have trouble
would
getting
be.
through TSA with that. I think.
Yes, you would.
That's very
not
lethal.
going through easy.
All right. Are we moving on to here?
Yeah, we are.
All right.
All right, we're up to.
What do we got here, Ed?
Well, this one is from. Not Living Daylights.
License to
License to Kill.
This is
It's the Winoka
chop
knife.
up some Coke in a bag.
Well,
knife.
yeah, and it's also the one you'll see when he goes on the wave crest, and he goes into the room where the girl is, and someone's coming to the door, and he kind of sits there and threatens her, so not to say anything. But this is, and what's really unique about this knife is the sheath, because you'll notice it has a little silver button here that's
Yes.
spring loaded, and when it goes in,
Locks.
it locks it in place.
Love it.
So the way to get it out is you have to push the button down
Right.
to pull it out. So it's a very secure system.
It's such a cool knife.
Very, very neat.
I love this.
Okay. And I can reach over here. So
Do it.
you can't get to it, maybe. Or maybe you can't. Shoot over a little bit. This one actually looks a lot like the other one that we had before, which is this. If you notice, it's almost
Oh, it does. My gosh.
It's almost the exact same, duplicate of this, but it
Wow.
isn't. That was made by a company a long time ago, back probably in the 80s, called the Edge Company.
Oh my gosh.
And the brand for that is the Black Panther. And
From Germany.
From Germany, yeah, Solingen, Germany. And the only time you see this, and you see it a few times, it's when Dario has it, and he does. It shoots directly out of his
Wow. Talk
Yeah.
about details.
So that's the knife.
That's
And I think for you, I made the actual sliding mechanism
yes, you did.
a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
Absolutely
pretty
beautiful.
neat, yeah. And again, copy of the other knife, which is again a copy of the World War II.
Have we moved into the world of Brosnan?
Yeah, we have. Actually, we have.
Take a look at this, folks. So is this his knife like that he has?
Yeah,
or-
it's on the side.
It's on the side, okay.
Yeah, he has an assault vest.
Yes.
And this is
Stampers.
yes, this is the one he puts directly into the geyser.
Wow.
It's
Now there's a lot of replicas
Yeah.
of this configuration.
There
but,
is.
But chances are it was a Gerber, right?
It is a Gerber.
It is a Gerber.
Gerber Mark One.
Wow. I'm holding that against the
And
orange
then-
of your wall so people can
Okay.
see that.
Yeah, and these can be very expensive.
Gerber's expensive.
They're not.
but it's a
cheap
good
knives.
brand.
It's a very good brand. Definitely.
I think I remember way back when, and I was a lad, so were you. I remember when you got this, and then you were explaining to me how good Gerber is
Yeah.
and the quality of this. So these are very hard to find in this configuration.
Well, you can find it, but be prepared to spend a lot of money
Really?
because you're not going to get these cheap.
Wow.
Not going to get them cheap. Very expensive.
All right, why don't you grab this
yeah,
series?
Still with we're staying with
Tomorrow Never Dies.
And you see this little pouch here.
Academy Award winning Michelle. You can say
right.
that now.
It opens up, and what this does is it holds the individual throwing stars. Each
Those
one
are
of these
great.
fits inside. And even though that there are 3 of these shurikens, as they're called, the only one that we actually see in the film is this particular one. Okay, and we see this housed directly onto the bottom of her boot when they're on the stealth boat.
And even the
She
doll.
reaches down.
The doll has one on the bottom of her
Yes,
boot.
you're right. The 12-inch figure.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah, she takes this out of her boot and throws it across the room and gets one of the guards in the neck with it.
And Spyboy sells these.
I have these, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the only thing is,
cool.
some of you guys may not be able to get these, only because of state regulations.
Yes, that's right.
And that doesn't really hold true for all the knives. I haven't encountered any problems with sending any knives anywhere around the world.
Okay,
So
fair.
far, nothing. The only ones, of course, I probably can't would be, again, switchblades, which we touched upon earlier.
Yes.
But everything else, it's up for grabs.
All right.
Okay?
We have more knives, ladies and
we have
gentlemen.
more.
This is the world of knives.
We're almost to the end. So, this again, Brosnan era.
Ah.
And this isn't Bond's knife, but it's one of Zukovsky's henchmen. When he goes, you remember?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I don't think you heard me. And the tie and
And the tie goes. right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again,
This
you
is
identified it just from it sticking
You
out of
can
the
tell
bar.
from it's got a very distinctive
Yeah,
markings
look at the markings.
on the side there. It's a German trench knife.
That is lethal looking.
Yeah.
Old?
It's originally World War II era,
That's
but
old.
they had made reproductions of these. This is a real one,
Wow.
but there are other ones. You can get that kind of look like it. Sometimes they have different colored handles instead of the original
That's
brown.
a great detail. In someone's
this is it,
display, especially like, that particular film, it would just connect you right to
Yeah.
the film.
You got to get a tie though and
You do got to get a tie.
display.
And a
it.
pair of blue
Of course.
sunglasses.
Of course.
That'd be good. Oh, I recognize this.
David knows this one.
I
I'll
do.
let you tell it then.
So this is the figs.
Yes.
Just, wow. That's got a nice
Yeah.
movement to it. So this is
This
when,
is a Boker
Okay.
automatic knife,
wow,
switchblade, for lack of a better word.
speed
And,
lock.
it's perfect for eating figs.
Yes.
Or anything else. You wanna
Holly
use it
Berry's
for.
the one that has that, right?
Right, that's correct.
That's just a beautiful
It's
knife.
it's a neat little knife. It's compact.
Right.
Again, very sharp.
Yeah.
And
Do you fold it by
automatic.
pushing the button?
Push it down, right? Fold right, locks right in place. It has a
Ridiculously
little-
easy.
Little panels, little wooden
Yes.
panels on the side.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of an embellishment. So, very neat little piece.
Love this.
This one, we're moving on to The World Is Not Enough.
Oh yes.
Now,
Oh,
I have to admit that this sheath is not the one from the film. I have the correct one. It's buried somewhere. I can't get to it. So
Okay.
I thought, well,
Fair
I'll
enough.
still bring it out. But this knife actually serves double duty. Okay, you'll see this when Bond is in the bank sequence before he blows up his glasses. Blows up the
Yeah.
No, he had the P99. He blows up the P99 by using a little button on the side of his glass.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look really close on the table, you'll see a sheath very similar to one of the other sheaths that I showed you before, which is this basic kind of a sheath.
wow.
Okay? And that's what holds this knife. Okay? It's a Stingray. And this you'll see later on also, because, let me think now. The scene where he's with Electra,
Yeah, in the bubble.
And
that
they're
goes
in the
around.
bubble.
Yes.
okay?
The avalanching
The avalanche, right. This is what he uses to
to cut it open.
cut it open with. So this appears twice in that movie. And it appears later on too.
So is
in
this
the
the
next
same knife? Because I always get mixed up. I see that knife from the avalanche scene, and then this knife that hers are throwing knives.
Yeah.
But are they different knives?
They are.
Okay.
They are. The one that Bond has, okay, which again is in my sheath somewhere back there, has serrations on it.
Ah, okay.
Like little saw blade type of
Yes.
thing. Okay. Whereas these are, they're just straight edge.
Smooth throwing knives.
Smooth throwing
Boom.
knife. Nothing to them. Okay. And we see these
Yeah.
in Jinx's belt.
Yep.
harness, or whatever you want to call it. So she has a series of 6, of which there's only 5 here. But that's what these guys... And you'll see it later on when it goes into the art of war.
Yes.
When she kills
Which, how have you
Miranda
not made
Frost.
that? How have you
Well,
not made
let me tell you.
that book?
My buddy, my buddy Rob Griffin, he actually made the book. He contacted me. He wanted to buy one of these knives. And later on, we got to be really good friends, Rob and I. And I asked him, I said, did you do it? Because he made the book.
Oh.
He actually made the book. Okay? He said he didn't have the heart.
Oh.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
He didn't have the heart
To cut it down.
to actually cut through the book and embed the knife into it.
Okay.
He said one day he might, but he would have had to cut
The
book
line
and put it-
starts here.
Yeah.
We want that book with a blade.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, Rob Gritton has done a lot of excellent
That's so cool.
reproductions
Yeah.
of both IDs and booklets, pads, fantastic stuff.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
telling David also just recently about a sharper image card that we see. He made 2, one for me, one for him. I was very lucky, and thank you, Rob, for doing that. The one that he sells slides open, and you can see there's like simulated electronics.
Right.
But he did make one that actually has battery packs in it, so when you slide it open, it does actually blink on and
So
off.
cool.
He said it was a nightmare to do that. So
Oh my gosh.
he said, I'm never doing that again. So sorry, guys, but you can get the other one.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I own the other one and it's amazing.
See?
Very cool.
Okay. There you go.
All right.
All right.
This one looks
Still
lethal.
talking about Jinx. When she comes out of the ocean, she's wearing a
Oh.
white belt, and that's the knife that's on that
Wait,
belt.
this is when he's at the resort and he's
Yeah.
drinking the mojito.
Yeah,
I could learn
very,
to like it.
Very first time you see Jinx come out of the water, very reminiscent of Honey Rider coming out.
I'm gonna
in
sound
Dr.
like
No.
such a dude, but I didn't even notice she was wearing a knife.
Oh, see?
I'm just looking at orange bikinis. But the other thing is, all right, so she's at this resort and she goes in the water to swim.
Yeah.
Why the hell is she wearing a knife?
Don't know. In case of shark or something.
Okay, so they just wanted to just represent.
I think it was
Back to
more
Ursula
representative,
Andress,
yes,
yeah.
to the Ursula Andress and, unearthing the...
A cool knife.
It is.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
it's got
thing,
like a non-slip grip to
this
it.
thing's not going to move. Wow.
Yeah, it's very nicely made.
Expensive?
Nah, not really.
Not too bad.
No, you can contact me.
All right. Jinx knife,
Now this one, David actually has a better version of this than I do.
which is unbelievable because his
Yes.
collection kills mine.
And I'm sure you can refer to whatever the name of the video is that you feature this in.
Yeah.
You should link that onto it.
I will do that.
Okay. It's a CRKT knife,
Yeah.
which is a very small knife.
Just a solid hunk.
Yeah. And the difference between this one and the one that David had accurized is that it has a series of, what would you call it, paracord?
Yeah, it's like paracord, and then there's wax over it
Yeah.
that kind of melted to it. But
Yeah, yeah.
you've got to then like weave it, and it's a whole Megillah.
it is.
I'll show you the link.
Definitely have a link to this because this is Bond's knife that was taken away from him. And you only see it for a second.
Yep.
You know, it's like, here it is. And he hands it over and
Yeah.
you never see it again. But that's the one.
I think people went nuts over that because it's one that you could connect to Daniel Craig, which is unusual.
absolutely.
And I think it's also the fact that he has it on him.
Yes.
It's not one he stole. This was his knife.
That's Bond's gun. Yeah, they're Bond's knife right
Yeah,
there. That's
which is
his. It's
unique.
part of his arsenal.
Yeah.
Walking arsenal.
But we're not done with Daniel Craig. It looks
No,
like there's something
we've got
sharp and...
2 more to go. 2 more to go. We're going to jump over to Skyfall.
Okay.
And I'll show you this guy here.
This is just
Okay.
one of my favorite knives.
How well you can see that. I'll take this off so that you might be able to see that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay. The base just has, you can't see it too well, but it says Skyfall.
That's a beautiful base.
It is.
You
This
didn't
was
make the
made,
base, did you?
No, this was made by Jeff Pashley, who is also one of the members of the AJB forum.
Hmm.
He bought one of these knives from me, and in return he did this, which
Wow.
is a little dusty here, but it's a photograph of Kincaid and Bond.
It's gorgeous.
They're looking down at the table, and you can see that this is where the knife is.
Yeah.
And he said something like, the old ways are the best.
Mm-hmm.
So he made this stand for me. And this knife has a history behind it. This is the Kincaid knife, I call it. Okay? It has a buffalo horn handle. It has a Damascus blade. Okay, it has brass, highlights here for the
Yeah.
hilt and the pommel, and you can't get these anywhere until maybe I do them.
Oops, spoiler.
But the way I got this is
Yeah.
a friend of mine had told me a while back, right before the movie came out, that they were contacted. His company was contacted by the prop guys at Eon, and they wanted a specific knife, which turns out to be this. And prior to this, they also had supplied this to the production company, the CRKT knife. Okay, just for them to have as a prop. They bought a few of those, and they came back because they were happy with their business, and they came back and they had them design this knife. So I told him, I said, well, come hell or high water, I said, I know that you're not supposed to, but I said, can you get me some replicas of this? Okay, I think we got 50.
Yeah.
So 50 people got this, and that's it.
And I'm one of the 50.
He's one of
and
the 50.
I have to tell you, in all honesty, I have a lot of non-Bond people come into my collection. And for some reason, and it could be the Damascus blade, they literally come over to this knife,
Yeah.
sitting amongst some pretty impressive things in my
I'm sure.
Skyfall
I'm
display,
sure.
and they go, "What is that?"
Yeah.
They want to hear the story behind it. This is artwork.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It
not
is.
just something from the movie. I mean, the way this is folded in the Damascus blade
Absolutely.
is so beautiful.
And the buffalo horn, because it is actual buffalo horn, even though there were 50 of these made, they all have a slight difference because some guys that got this, sometimes they have a little bit of like a silvering or
Like
a
a
little kind of a white
Yellow or
line
beige.
to it.
Mine does.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay. All
And
right.
it looks like a horn.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it doesn't
It
look
is.
like a black piece of
Yeah, it's
plastic.
not plastic.
No.
No, this is real. This is totally real.
Weighted so beautifully. No, this is what a special one.
And the sheath that comes
Yeah.
with it, which is the same one in the film. And again, both the knife and the sheath were made by the same company for the film. So this is as close as you're going to get to a real thing.
Unbelievable.
Okay. We're down to the last one now.
Last one, ladies and gentlemen.
And you know what? I hate to disappoint you, but it's not a knife.
But still used as a weapon.
But used as a weapon.
I know.
Okay. You'll remember this, Bond using this as he was attacking, who was it, David? Well, yeah, there you
Ice
go.
picks and cork
Yeah,
removers.
That's right.
So Hinks.
Hinks,
Yeah.
that's right.
On the
Couldn't think of
train.
This, and it's a nice pick. You can,
Yeah.
crack your ice and crack it up and pop it up. But it makes a great weapon. But you're right. I never made the connection.
Yeah.
It's very similar to
It's
that.
it's got that same
it's-
feel.
it has
and,
a use to
and
it.
again, I because we're talking about the psychology of these things.
Yeah.
There's something insidious about syringes
Yeah.
and cork things and this ice pick. Part of me would almost rather get stabbed with something else.
with a real knife as opposed to
This
something
is
like
just.
that.
I mean, it just looks
It looks dangerous.
like from a doctor's office nightmare.
Yes. Yes.
And this, I remember when it was first identified, there was this run to get
Oh
them.
my gosh. Yes.
And some were wrong. Some were
Yeah,
too big
that's
because it
right.
had different sizes. But, it should be like a nice grippy knife.
exactly.
I got to assume for the movie they had to have made this in
I'm sure they made it out of rubber.
something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, they couldn't. I mean, that'd be too dangerous if somebody was accidentally,
Yeah.
hurt with something like this. I remember reading in the movie The Punisher. What was his name? Thomas Jane, who played the Punisher.
Yeah.
And the big Russian guy that he fights. Okay, there's a scene in there where he was supposed to have a stunt knife because
Oh, wow.
he stabs him like right here.
Yeah.
It wasn't a stunt knife. It was a real knife.
They stabbed him.
And he really stabbed them with that knife.
Holy
Not
cow.
realizing that it wasn't a stunt one.
Oh, my gosh.
And even still, credit to them, they continue with the scene.
Did they
until
keep it in the
until
film?
they
Can
cut.
you-
It's in the film. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when he gets stabbed, it's real, guys.
Yeah. So
So you got to be careful.
I was just going to say that is a really good. I mean, the knife that you wield and hold can hurt you sometimes more than your
Well,
enemy.
I told you, I cut myself really bad, and
Yeah.
to this day, it's still stiff. A
Ugh.
little bit, not much, but it's still stiff.
Yeah.
It reminds me every time I bend my hand into a fist, I get that little twinge that
Yeah.
says, "Russia with love."
Well, first of all, Ed hinted to a surprise or two. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to show you that surprise or two, but we're actually only going to put that video up on my Instagram.
Oh.
So after this YouTube video, if you head over to Instagram or to Facebook, we're going to have them up there just to give everybody on different channels a little bit of fun. But Ed, I wanted to thank you
Oh, my pleasure.
for
Dave.
taking us on this incredible journey. And the other thing I want to thank you for is a lot of people don't know this, many people do, that Ed is the guy that got me into James Bond when it got dormant. You got me into props and collecting and things like that. So thank you for always
my
being an
pleasure.
inspiration.
My
I
pleasure.
really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always been fun. I mean,
This is the guy.
having these things is just like having a part of the movie, to me.
Yes.
So it's like when I hold something like this, I remember the scene from the movie, and it's, even though you're not in the movie or a part of the movie, it's kind of draws you into the movie.
That is the most special.
So it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to collect.
It's the special part of collecting. And that's why, when I go goo-goo over a box like this, it's because it's almost like beyond Bond. Like if you had
Right.
that knife and things
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
imagine if you had, and the display is everything.
It
so
is. Okay.
we'll have links below. Check that out. Ed and I will film the other video. In the meantime, it's been Ed Maggiani. Thank you so much from Spy Boys.
Thank you, guys.
And David
Hope you
Zritsky.
enjoyed.
I think they
you
did.
enjoyed it.
They're salivating.
If you didn't, well,
Yeah, he'll take it out on me.
we'll take it out.
And this
on
will be my
Dave.
last
Yeah.
video.
Very good.
David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll
Bye.
see you real soon.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.